We live in interesting times.
For the headlines.
The tension between President Trump and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi reached new heights on State of the Union address. President Donald Trump ignored House Speaker Pelosi's outstretched hand at the top of his annual address. At the end of the speech, Ms. Pelosi tore up her copy of his prepared remarks.
Hong Kong's flagship carrier Cathay Pacific is asking its entire workforce to take up to 3 weeks of unpaid leave. Its CEO announced Wednesday as the airline faces a crisis in the wake of the new coronavirus outbreak.
And Hong Kong also announced a mandatory 2-week quarantine for all travelers from mainland China in a bid to stop more cases of the deadly new coronavirus.
And thousands were marooned on a cruise ship off the Japanese coast Wednesday after medics evacuated 10 people infected with the deadly coronavirus, with many facing an anxious wait for their own test results.
Amalma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world, thank you very much for joining us.
We welcome our viewers here in the Philippines and around the world. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Cepeda.
And now to the news. Millions more people have been ordered to stay indoors as China battles to curb the spread of a new virus that authorities said Wednesday has already killed nearly 500 people. With more than 24,000 cases in China, a growing number of cities have been imposing a range of restrictions in recent days, far from central Hubei province, the epicenter of the outbreak, as authorities struggle to contain the virus. Global concerns have risen as more countries found cases that were not imported from China, and 10 people tested positive for the virus on a ship quarantined off the coast of Japan. Some 56 million people in Hubei have been under virtual lockdown since last week, with its capital Wuhan at the heart of the health emergency. In Hangzhou, some 175 kilometers southwest of Shanghai, green fences blocked streets near the headquarters of Chinese tech giant Alibaba as a fighter jet circled overhead. At least 3 other cities in eastern Zhejiang province, Taizhou, Wenzhou, and parts of Ningbo have imposed the same measures, affecting some 18 million people. Similar policies were encouraged by authorities in 2 cities as far as China's northeasternmost province, Heilongjiang, and a handful of others along the east coast. In Henan province, which borders Hubei, a district in the city of Zhuhaidian decided that only 1 person could leave each household every 5 days. Residents there have been offered cash rewards for informing on people from Hubei.
A 60-year-old Chinese woman who had traveled to Cebu and Bohol is the country's 3rd positive 2019 novel coronavirus case, the Department of Health announced on Wednesday, February 5. Health Undersecretary Eric Domingo said the patient tested negative for samples taken on January 24 and was thus allowed to go back to China, but that they recently tested a sample taken on January 23 from the patient, which tested positive. By that time, the patient had already left the country for China. Domingo said that the woman left for China on January 31 in an Air Asia flight after the validated negative test results by the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine, or RITM, and by Australia, where the January 23 samples from the patient were also sent. But he said that the department would do contact tracing for the passengers in the Cebu Pacific flight that the Chinese woman took in getting here from Wuhan, China via Hong Kong. They would also trace persons who may have had contact with the woman, including flight crew members, health workers, and hotel personnel, among others. She arrived in Cebu City via Hong Kong on January 20 and then went directly to Bohol thereafter, Domingo said. Upon arrival, the patient felt unwell and stayed in her hotel.
The results arrived from Australia on January 29, and from RITM on January 30. And upon recovery, the patient was discharged and allowed to go home to China on January 31. Test na lahat ng samples from other PUIs. So all of the samples that were taken before the test was validated and done here at RITM. Kasi dati sinasala natin, no? Hindi kasi lahat pwede nating padala sa Australia noon. May protocol ang WHO ng kung ilan lang ang pwede mong padala. So pinipili lang natin yung talagang mga very suspicious. But since then, we have tested all of them. And all of them have tested negative, except for this one. And their clinical explanation is that the patient was probably towards the end of the illness at that time. Kaya positive pa siya, pero in the subsequent niya, was negative na, both at RITM and in Australia. So validated twice yung...
Domingo said that the DOH's Epidemiology Bureau has already initiated contact tracing of the persons whom the Chinese woman had possibly interacted with and those who were in close proximity, especially during the first leg of her trip in the country before her admission to the hospital.
The DOH would like to urge passengers from Cebu Pacific Flight 5J241 from Hong Kong to Cebu, both on January 20 and January 21, 2020. Cebu Pacific Flight DG6519 from Cebu to Dumaguete on January 21, 2020. And Philippine Airlines Flight PR2542 from Dumaguete to Manila on January 25, 2020 to cooperate with DOH representatives who will be getting in touch with them for assessment.
Now, medical authorities have confirmed the first death in Hong Kong from the coronavirus. A 39-year-old man who had been unstable until his condition suddenly deteriorated. The city becomes the second place outside mainland China to report the death of a coronavirus patient. As officials said, they feared local transmissions were increasing in the city. Take a look.
From the hospital authority.
He has history of diabetes mellitus, and currently, before his death, he was treated as pneumonia in the PMH. Because of the sudden onset of the deterioration and failed resuscitation this morning, as well as the doctors could not identify the possible cause of this patient, it is our usual practice to refer the patient to the coroner for further investigation.
The detection of the recent two locally acquired cases indicate there's a significant risk of community transmission in Hong Kong. So we have to closely monitor the situation.
The death of the 39-year-old man in Hong Kong came as the city closed all but 2 land crossings with the Chinese mainland. Hong Kong media said the man had underlying health issues. He had visited Wuhan last month and his 72-year-old mother was also infected. Health officials noted that the mortality rate for the new coronavirus stood at 2.1%, with most victims either old or with underlying health problems. Now, SARS killed nearly 10% of patients. Meanwhile, Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam announced on Wednesday all visitors from mainland China to Hong Kong will be quarantined for 14 days. Mrs. Lam told reporters at a press conference that the Hong Kong government will also allocate 10 billion Hong Kong dollars to fight the spread of the coronavirus.
10 people on a cruise ship quarantined near Yokohama have tested positive for a new coronavirus originating in the Chinese city of Wuhan. A ship, the Diamond Princess, with some 3,700 people aboard, has been kept in quarantine at anchor off the coast of Yokohama after an 80-year-old passenger from Hong Kong was found to be infected with the pneumonia-causing virus. Health Minister Katsunobu Kato told reporters that specimens from more than 200 people were collected. The government is requiring all passengers and crew from 56 countries and regions to stay on the ship for for 2 more weeks from Wednesday. Passengers were told the vessel will dock later Wednesday to restock food and other supplies, according to a passenger on the ship. The infected man from Hong Kong flew to Tokyo in mid-January and boarded the cruise ship in Yokohama on January 20. He disembarked in Hong Kong on January 25.
And Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam said anyone arriving in Hong Kong from mainland China from Saturday, February 8, will face a mandatory 2-week quarantine. Now, she said the measures were aimed at curbing the cross-border flow of people to prevent the spread of the novel coronavirus. Mrs. Lam also said on Monday night that Hong Kong would suspend 10 out of 13 border crossings with mainland China. The crossings that remain open are the city's airport, the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, and the Shenzhen Bay Joint Checkpoint. There have been 21 confirmed cases of the coronavirus in Hong Kong, with 1 death.
The dramatic measures taken by China to rein in the deadly new coronavirus outbreak have prevented a significant spread abroad, providing a window of opportunity to halt transmission, the World Health Organization said Tuesday. But the UN Health Agency's chief also called for greater solidarity, accusing some governments to wealthy countries of being well behind in sharing data on virus cases.
But for sure, we have a window of opportunity to act, because 176 in the rest of the world is very small. No reason to panic or fear. Of course, people can have concerns, and they should. People could be worried, they should. But that concern and worry should be supplemented with action now while we have the window of opportunity. Of the 176 cases reported outside China so far, WHO has received complete case report forms for only 38% of cases. Some high-income countries are well behind in sharing this vital data with WHO. I don't think it's because they lack capacity. They have to be cooperative. We reiterate our call to all countries not to impose restrictions inconsistent with the international health regulations. Such restrictions can have the effect of increasing fear and stigma with little public health benefit.
The WHO has declared a global health emergency over the outbreak, but said it did not yet constitute a pandemic or the worldwide spread of a new disease. Let's listen in.
Currently, we are not in a pandemic. We are at the phase where it's an epidemic with multiple foci, and we will try to extinguish the transmission in each of these foci. Of course, it's challenging, as you have seen. Why? Because there is a lot of people's movement, and so, of course, and the virus is easily spreading, and so I'm not saying it's easy, but this is really the attempt, and we believe that it can be done. So outside China, now we have 23 countries reporting sporadic cases. The aim is to stop transmission. And that's why countries are implementing early case detection, early isolation and treatment of patients, contact tracing to make sure that they identify very early contacts that become symptomatic, and social distancing measure in the places where there is a risk of transmission.
Vietnam is setting up field hospitals with thousands of beds to handle a potential influx of coronavirus cases, health officials said, as it prepares to receive its nationals from China. Vietnam shares a long, porous border with China, and the communist neighbors have close trade and tourism ties. So far, Vietnam has 10 confirmed cases of coronavirus, including 3 people with no recent travel history to China. In Vietnam's southern business hub of Ho Chi Minh City, where 3 cases of coronavirus have been confirmed, 2 existing facilities are being converted into field hospitals with a total capacity of 500 beds. In Hanoi, 2 military facilities have been turned into quarantine centers for up to 1,500 people as the country prepares to receive 950 people from China to be isolated at the sites. 2 provinces in the northern Vietnam near the China border have also set up beds for close to 3,000 patients. Central Vietnam has centers ready for as many as 3,700. Vietnam has not announced plans to repatriate its citizens from China en masse, though 21 Vietnamese students in Wuhan, the center of the epidemic, could be brought back on a chartered flight, according to the government. Vietnam has banned all flights to and from mainland China and suspended new tourist visas for Chinese nationals or foreigners who have been there in the past 2 weeks. All passenger trains to and from China have also been halted.
In Belleville, Paris' second Chinatown, Asian restaurants, herbalists, and supermarkets are all half empty because of the coronavirus. Even though the 6 French cases are in isolation in the hospital, fear of the epidemic is creating fears and racism. Take a look.
En fait, en France, vraiment, il n'y a pas beaucoup de cas. Et en plus, avec toutes les rumeurs qui circulent sur le net, les gens s'inquiètent.
Les Chinois, ils font une sorte de confinement eux-mêmes, une sorte de quarantaine. Non seulement ils viennent plus dans le quartier chinois, ils sortent plus. Ils s'enferment dans leur maison.
D'habitude, pendant la période de Nouvel An chinois, et que les commerçants, normalement, ils ont triplé leur chiffre d'affaires 2 ou 3 fois. Et aujourd'hui, les commerçants, ils n'ont même pas à peu près entre 30 et 50% de leur chiffre d'affaires habituel.
Quand j'ai un marchand de légumes qui est chinois, je vais toujours acheter mes fruits et légumes chez lui, mais je ne vais pas acheter le reste. Ça me fait peur.
On a beaucoup de paquets qui arrivent de Chine, alors il y a un collègue qui ne veut pas les distribuer, mais de toute façon...
Chaque fois qu'il y a un problème de terrorisme, chaque fois qu'il y a un problème avec un pays, le racisme ressort. Alors le racisme, un coup c'est anti-musulman, le racisme anti-chinois, le racisme anti-quelque chose, mais le racisme ressort régulièrement en France et c'est là-dessus qu'il faudrait travailler plus que sur l'épidémie elle-même en ce moment.
How does 2019 nCoV spread? Can the 2019 nCoV be transmitted from person to person? How dangerous is the 2019 nCoV? Here are some information from the World Health Organization. Take a look.
News. We'll be right back.
Tungkulin ng MTRCB ang mag-provide na appropriate ratings sa lahat ng TV shows. Para ugaliin ng pamilya ang
to overcome boundaries and connect the world. It's time for DW News.
Accurate and fair reporting. Not only from Batanes to Tawi-Tawi, but also abroad. Detailed and timely stories relevant to people all over the world. Catch all of these at Net25, your reliable source of news, entertainment, and technology updates.
Net25 shows live and on demand anytime, anywhere on any mobile device on OSN Play.
Welcome back. A pointed political gesture. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi ripped up her copy of President Donald Trump's State of the Union address after listening tight-lipped to the president tout his achievements to Congress. Let's take a look.
If forcing American taxpayers to provide unlimited free health care to illegal aliens sounds fair to you, then stand with the radical left. But if you believe that we should defend American patients and American seniors, then stand with me and pass legislation to prohibit free government health care for illegal aliens. The stars. I am asking Congress to fully fund the Artemis program to ensure that the next man and the first woman on the moon will be American astronauts, using this as a launching pad to ensure that America is the first nation to plant its flag on Mars. The best is yet to come. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Madam Speaker.
Because it was the courteous thing to do, considering the alternatives.
In the chamber where he was impeached, President Trump gave a State of the Union address. There, he boasted about his record on jobs and warned against Democratic policy proposals. The speech came in the thick of the president's 2020 re-election campaign and one day before he is expected to be acquitted by the Senate on impeachment charges. Here are some of the highlights.
3 years ago, we launched the Great American Comeback. Tonight, I stand before you to share the incredible results. Jobs are booming, incomes are soaring, poverty is plummeting, crime is falling, confidence is surging, and our country is thriving and highly respected again. The days of our country being used, taken advantage of, and even scorned by other nations are long behind us. We're moving forward at a pace that was unimaginable just a short time ago, and we are never, ever going back. The state of our union is stronger than ever before. African American youth unemployment has reached an all-time low. African American poverty has declined to the lowest rate ever recorded. The unemployment rate for women reached the lowest level in almost 70 years, and last year women filled 72% of all new jobs added. We are supporting the hopes of Cubans, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans to restore democracy. The United States is leading a 59-nation diplomatic coalition against the socialist dictator of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro. Maduro is an illegitimate ruler, a tyrant who brutalizes his people, but Maduro's grip on tyranny will be smashed and broken. Here this evening is a very brave man who carries with him the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of all Venezuelans. Joining us in the gallery is the true and legitimate president of Venezuela, Juan Guaido. Mr. President, please take this message back to your homeland. In the gallery tonight, we have a young gentleman, and what he wants so badly, 13 years old, Ian Lonfei. He's an 8th grader from Arizona. Ian, please stand up. Ian has always dreamed of going to space. He was the first in his class and among the youngest at an aviation academy. He aspires to go to the Air Force Academy, and then he has his eye on the Space Force. As Ian says, most people look up at space. I want to look down on the world. After more than 130 combat missions in World War II, he came back home to a country still struggling for civil rights and went on to serve America in Korea and Vietnam. On December 7th, Charles celebrated his 100th birthday. A few weeks ago, I signed a bill promoting Charles McGee to Brigadier General, and earlier today, I pinned the stars on his shoulders in the Oval Office. General McGee, our nation salutes you. Thank you, sir. We must also rebuild America's infrastructure. I ask you to pass Senator John Barrasso's highway bill to invest in new roads, bridges, and tunnels all across our land. I'm also committed to ensuring that every citizen can have access to high-speed internet, including and especially in rural America. God's grace is still shining, and my fellow Americans, the best is yet to come. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
After President Donald Trump delivered the 2020 State of the Union address on Tuesday evening, many Americans were introduced to a less familiar face. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who delivered the Democratic Party's response to President Trump. Take a look.
Doesn't matter what the president says about the stock market. What matters is that millions of people struggle to get by or don't have enough money at the end of the month after paying for transportation, student loans, or prescription drugs. American workers are hurting. In my own state, our neighbors in Wisconsin and Ohio, Pennsylvania, and all over the country, wages have stagnated while CEO pay has skyrocketed. Democrats want safe schools. We want everyone to have a path to a good life, whether it's through a union apprenticeship, a community college, a four-year university, without drowning in debt. We want your water to be clean. We want you to love who you love and to live authentically as your true selves. And we want women to have autonomy over our bodies. We want our country welcoming, and everyone's vote counted. It's pretty simple. Democrats are trying to make your health care better. Republicans in Washington are trying to take it away.
Pete Buttigieg seized a shock lead Tuesday in Iowa's debut U.S. presidential nomination vote, according to partial Democratic Party results that placed Bernie Sanders in close second and national frontrunner Joe Biden a distant fourth.
Just in case you haven't been glued to your phone the last few minutes, I want you to hear something from me. A little later than we anticipated, but better late than never. Official, verified caucus results are coming in from the state of Iowa. They're not complete, but results are in from a majority of precincts, and they show our campaign in first place. It validates the idea that we can expand a coalition not only unified around who it is we're against, but around what it is that we're for. And it validates for a kid somewhere in the community wondering if he belongs or she belongs or they belong in their own family. That if you believe in yourself and your country, there's a lot backing up that belief.
The first wave of results following a delay due to technical issues in Monday night's Iowa caucuses gives a major boost to the campaign of Buttigieg, a 38-year-old former mayor of South Bend, Indiana, who has trailed the frontrunners for months but surged at the right time. And it marked a disappointing start for Biden, who has repeatedly stressed on the campaign trail that he is the candidate best positioned to defeat President Donald Trump in November's election.
24 hours later, they're still trying to figure out what the heck happened in Iowa. At this rate, New Hampshire might get the first vote after all. This president decided it was worth risking impeachment to try to get a foreign power to come in and say something the foreign power wouldn't say. So I understand this new outfit and the way they've gone after my only surviving son and me and my family. But guys, look, presidents can't hold grudges. Presidents have to be able to fight, but they also have to be able to heal. Folks, everybody knows who Donald Trump is. We need to show them who we are. That's what we need to show them.
I'm very proud to tell you that last night in Iowa, we received more votes on the first and second round than any other candidate. After the vote, and for some reason in Iowa, they're having a little bit of trouble counting votes. But I am confident that here in New Hampshire, I know that you'll be able to count your votes on election night. And when you count those votes, I look forward to winning here in New Hampshire. And right now, you got a president of the United States who almost every single day demonizes undocumented immigrants. So we are going to end the demonization of the undocumented in this country. And on a very busy day one, we are going to reestablish legal status for the 1.8 million young people eligible for the DACA program.
In other news, severe flooding forced thousands of residents in New Zealand's South Island to flee their homes on Wednesday and left hundreds of tourists stranded at the remote Milford Sound beauty spot. Take a look. The Southland region declared a state of emergency after being deluged with more than 1,000 millimeters of rainfall in 60 hours. It triggered landslides on major roads and caused waters washed away sections of the only road to Milford Sound, a popular hiking spot for international tourists. And EMS said also that almost 200 people were being airlifted nearby Te Anau. Only 2 minor injuries have been reported after a landslide hit a hut on the Rockbird walking track, with both people receiving treatment at the scene.
Governor Claude Bautista said the entire province of Davao Occidental has been put under a state of calamity with up to 10,000 hogs affected by African swine fever. Agriculture Secretary William Dahl said Monday that at least 8 barangays in Don Marcelino were affected by the outbreak. The villages were cordoned off to prevent the spread of the disease. The province has been put on lockdown with the entry and exit of all hogs and pork products banned. The city government of Davao has banned the entry of live pigs, pork meat, and other pork-related products coming from 2 neighboring provinces beginning Monday. Mayor Sara Duterte said the move was necessary following the confirmed ASF case in Davao Occidental and a suspected case in Davao del Sur. North Cotabato Governor Nancy Catamco created a task force on ASF to prevent the entry of viral disease into the province.
To Indonesia now, where hundreds of pigs have died from the African swine fever in Bali, marking the Indonesian holiday island's first recorded outbreak, and after the virus claimed some 30,000 hogs in Sumatra. Ida Bagus Wisnuardana, Bali's Agriculture and Food Security Agency chief, said nearly 900 pigs succumbed to swine fever since mid-December. The announcement comes after Indonesia said this week it would temporarily ban some livestock imports from China over fears about the coronavirus, which has killed almost 500 people in China where it originated. In December, Indonesian officials said tens of thousands of pigs died from African swine fever in North Sumatra province. While Indonesia is the world's most populous Muslim nation and eating pork is forbidden by the Quran, the country also boasts a small non-Muslim majority in North Sumatra, and Bali is a Hindu island whose signature dish is roast pig.
Lesotho police on Tuesday charged First Lady Maisaya Tabani with murder for her alleged links to the brutal 2017 killing of the Prime Minister's previous wife. Maisaya Tabani, 42, will spend the night in custody after she came out of hiding and turned herself in to the police earlier on Tuesday. Maisaya Tabani went missing last month after being summoned as part of an investigation into the killing of Lipolelo Tabani, Prime Minister Thomas Tabani's estranged wife. The couple was involved in bitter divorce proceedings when she was gunned down outside her home in Lesotho's capital, Maseru, in June 2017, 2 days before her husband's inauguration. New evidence surfaced in early January when a letter from Lesotho's police chief was made public alleging the communication records from the day of the crime picked up the Prime Minister's mobile number. Maisaya Tabani was picked up on the border with South Africa following an arrangement between her lawyer and the police. More news will be coming your way when Eagle News International returns.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Earth, home to millions of species, a home worth saving. Global Ideas tell stories of creative people and innovative projects around the world. Ideas that protect the climate, boost green energy solutions, and reforestation. Using interactive content to inspire people to take action. Global Ideas, the environment series of Global 3000.
Welcome back. Hong Kong's flagship carrier, Cathay Pacific, is asking its entire workforce to take up to 3 weeks of unpaid leave. That is according to its CEO. And he announced this as the airline faces a crisis in the wake of the new coronavirus outbreak. In a video message to the company's 27,000 employees, airline boss Augustus Tang said they were being asked to take up to 3 weeks leave with no pay between March and June. The coronavirus, which was first detected in the central Chinese city of Wuhan late last year, spread over the Lunar New Year holiday, which would normally be one of the busiest times for regional airlines. But instead, dozens of international carriers have reduced or suspended flights to China in a bid to halt the pathogen spread and as passenger numbers fall off a cliff. Tang warned Cathay was experiencing one of the most difficult Chinese New Year holidays we've ever had because of the virus. Hong Kong's economy is currently in recession, battered by the U.S.-China trade war and the recent protests. So far, 18 people have tested positive for the virus, one of whom died on Tuesday.
British telecoms giant Vodafone revealed Wednesday that it would cost about 200 million euros, or that's $221 million, over 5 years to remove controversial Chinese group Huawei's equipment from core 5G European activities. We have now decided, as a result of the EU recommendations and the UK government's decision to take out Huawei equipment from the core, Vodafone CEO Nick Reed said in a third-quarter conference call to reporters. It will take around 5 years to implement a cost of approximately 200 million euros, he added, stressing that the cost would mostly apply to its European activities outside of Britain. The UK government decided last month to exclude Huawei from core parts of the 5G network and also to cap its share of the market at 35%, insisting that high-risk vendors would be excluded from sensitive activities. London's decision came shortly after Brussels said it also would allow Huawei only a limited 5G role in the European Union. Reed added Wednesday that Vodafone had a very limited amount of Huawei technology in core European infrastructure, but warned it would take time to remove and swap equipment without disrupting customers.
Kobe memorials and murals are sprouting up in the City of Angels. Reporting from Los Angeles, here's Ivan Sanchez. Take a look.
Days after his sudden passing, makeshift memorials of Lakers legend Kobe Bryant sprouted throughout the City of Angels in the form of several murals on city streets depicting Kobe and his daughter Gianna, who also perished in the same helicopter accident on January 26. Designed by street artists and muralists, these works of art popped up from the San Fernando Valley throughout Los Angeles, including in downtown LA, home of the Staples Center, which can be said was the biggest unofficial memorial site and gathering place of mourners of the Lakers superstar in the days after his death. Although the Staples Center removed the public displays of appreciation and grief on its premises 8 days after Kobe's untimely death, it remains to be seen if the other tribute sites scattered throughout the city will remain a more permanent part of the city's landscape, as enduring as Kobe is in the hearts of his fans, who await the announcement of his public memorial service, which is expected to draw tens of thousands. In Los Angeles, for EBC News, this is Ivan Sanchez, 1 with 25.
Cycle Safe Bahrain launches its 2020 campaign calendar with Bahrain Cycling Festival. Lorleen Kalimlim tells us all about it.
Today we are here at Bahrain Bay witnessing the launching of Bahrain Cycling Festival, one of the 2020 Cycle Safe Bahrain calendar of activities. As initiated by sports fanatics in collaboration with General Directorate of Traffic, this two-day cycling activity and Cycle Safe campaign aim to educate cyclists and motorists on how to share the road safely on a day-to-day routine.
Don't text and drive. Keep me alive. This is the first awareness campaign of Cycle Safe Bahrain for 2020. All organizers and supporters assemble at the Wyndham Grand Hotel ground on its first day for the launching of this drive. Objective of the said activity is discussed. Safety awareness is also conducted to children by the Traffic Public Relations team.
A cycle for many, many years in the UK. It's still dangerous on the road, but people know the culture, so people cycle a lot. I don't see so many people doing it here. I want to come here and be part of this campaign because people should cycle more in the fresh air, free from God, right? And it needs to be safe, so the culture needs to get safe for cycling.
We started Cycle Safe Bahrain back in 2017. It's an initiative by Power Up and Try Life to spread awareness to people on how to share the road safely, because there's quite a lot of accidents that are happening in Bahrain, and the community of cycling are growing year by year because of the government's push as well for sports, and there is a big community of cycling here. It's not just the motorist that has to learn how to use the road properly and share the road with the cyclist, but the cyclist also has to know the proper way of using the road, and also they have to follow the traffic signs as well, not just the motorists.
This year we got a new joint partner in McLaren, and both McLaren, as you probably know, is already owned by Bahrain Crown Prince, so it's all like everything comes from Bahrain now. Merida is still our bike sponsors, and also this year, apart from Bahrain McLaren, we have a team called the Bahrain Cycling Academy, and this is a team that is feeding team or development team for Team Bahrain McLaren, and also to develop cycling in Bahrain, to keep it safe, and just to popularize the sport in Bahrain. And I think so far cyclists have been behaving well, although they have some flaws, and will teach cyclists, how to behave on the road. But I think the majority of education needs to be done with the motorist. My biggest concern is texting and driving, or using any kind of mobile phone with driving. So my message to everyone in Bahrain is, please don't do that. If you have to use your phone, there's other ways. You can have Siri or whatever your phone has, and you can say, Siri, please call, Siri, please do this, and you don't have to use text. You need to have your eyes on the road.
Today, the second day of the event, the renowned Team Bahrain McLaren joins the activity, which focuses on cycling around the city together with the other cyclists and motorists in raising awareness for road safety.
Cyclists of all nationalities, including the Filipino community, joined the 35-kilometer cycling around the city together with Team Bahrain McLaren.
We're happy we joined this event. This is a Safe Cycle Bahrain, the PMTB and the Archie Riders Bahrain. We have a lot of groups here in Bahrain, and we're glad that Bahrain is having this event, so all of us will be aware.
Harley-Davidson Bahrain leads the cyclists on roads with a maximum distance for their safety. The traffic police team is visible in the whole duration of the ride to ensure road safety from both the cyclists and the motorists. A press conference is also held in our Capita building. The short and long-term significance of the awareness is further explained to the public. A prominent name in the cycling industry, Mark Cavendish, who recently joined Team Bahrain McLaren, is among the panelists.
If the cyclist gets hit, it's the driver's fault unless they can prove it was the cyclist that was in the wrong, Things like that make people look out for cyclists, It's an extreme measure.
Living a healthy life through sports is ideal. Likewise, sharing your knowledge on road safety, especially nowadays, is better, as it is a great initiative to save motorist lives. Reporting from Bahrain, this is your Eagle News correspondent, Lorlin Kalimlim, and I'm Juan with 25.
Thanks, Lorlin.
Thank you, Lorlin. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr. Also check out our boards on Pinterest and pictures on Instagram. I'm Sam Cepeda. Thanks for joining us.
And that's the news for tonight. Join us online and here again tomorrow evening. From all of us here at Eagle News, I'm Alma Angeles, and we're one with 25.